We're at Acura Vigor, and we're looking at two cars that really are quite special to us here at Test Drive. A couple months ago, we filmed the 1992 Honda Accord and 1992 Acura Vigor. Fast forward 26 years, and we have the same pair-up for you today. We've got the 2018 Honda Accord Touring and the 2018 Acura TLX Tech. Now, this has changed names over the course of the last 2 decades, and the Honda is now a global platform instead of having a North American specific version. So we're going to be showing you everything about these two cars and what makes these two so different, and why Honda continues selling lots of the TLX, and why the Accord is one of our favorite mid-size sedans this year. While the Acura TLX is based on the previous Accord generation's platform, it did receive a facelift for 2018 along with the all-new Accord for this model year. Both cars offer the dual-eye LED headlights up front, but no fog lights on the Acura at this price point. Both cars also have rear backup cameras, power glass moonroofs, and LED taillights. The Acura does add power folding mirrors, which aren't available on the Accord. Styling is a huge factor between these two cars. Honda and Acura's design language has certainly been controversial as of late, so whether or not you like the look of either car is really going to come down to your own personal preference. Acura has dropped its chrome nose for their diamond pentagon grille with the larger Acura badge. The Accord has a flat grille, which matches the design language of the current generation Civic. Out back, the rear ends are quite different too, with Honda's taillights, which are found across their range of vehicles, and a more elegant set of lights on the TLX. The inside of these two sedans is also vastly different, and if you're familiar with the 9th generation Accord, you'll be more at home inside the TLX. First off, both cars have full leather seating, heated front and rear seats, heated steering wheels, and navigation systems that support Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and Sirius XM radio. The Honda has more features given its consumer segment pricing, with tech like a color heads-up display, ventilated front seats, Qi wireless charging, and a newer navigation system that makes Acuras feel very dated. The Honda also ditches the dual screen setup in favor for a high-detailed multi-information screen in the gauge cluster. Overall, the wood trim and leather seating gives this car a more premium feel to it, and has a sportiness to it that we really haven't seen from the Accord sedans before. Jumping over to the Acura, we do find a very consistent interior design language across the rest of their brand. There is enough different about these two cars now to make the jump to the Acura feel more like a different vehicle entirely, rather than just a nicer version of the Accord. There's polished wood trim around the center console and dashboard, along with a dual infotainment screen setup, which allows you to have navigation up top while keeping the music and heating controls displayed on the bottom screen. The ELS Studio Premium sound system is unique to the TLX and features 10 speakers with a subwoofer. As mentioned, the navigation system does feel dated, but is consistent with the other premium systems like the one we featured in the Infiniti QX60 earlier this year. The seating is a little bit more sporty, with slightly less legroom in the back. The perforated Milano leather seating also feels more premium than what's found on the Accord, and provides a good seating position for the driver. But while you can get most of the tech found on the Accord in higher trims on the TLX, minus the heads-up display, it's the powertrain and mechanics that really make the TLX stand out over the Accord. So let's start with the Acura and see how it performs on the road. Alright, so we're taking a look at the Acura TLX here, and this is really the first modern Acura that we've driven, and I really like the fact that we're able to do a showdown comparing the modern version of the Accord and Vigor essentially from our showdown a couple months ago. Now, this is based on the older generation, the 9th generation Accord, so the interior is a little bit different from the current one that we're driving right now, but I have to say that the seats are much more comfortable. You really do sink into them more than you do on the Accord, and I actually really like the Accord seats. So these are just a little bit nicer, a little bit more comfortable if you're thinking, you don't really want sport seats, you don't want anything too firm. These are quite nice. Now, there's a lot of mechanical differences with this car as well. This is a 2.4 liter inline 4 engine with an 8-speed dual clutch automated transmission. So there's more going on than you have in more of the consumer oriented version of the Accord. You have a little bit more power with this, but I do find that the steering and feel and ride is very similar. They do have very similar rides to it. And one of the things that Acura has always positioned themselves as is the more sporty version of the Accord, or in general to Honda. So we're going to see if we can get a little bit of sport out of this car today, just to see what those differences are, because I think that's really going to be the difference. People are going to be looking at this because they want something a little bit more sporty than the Accord, and it does have good pickup. Yeah, it's certainly quicker than the Accord, and that engine, I think, just sounds a little bit better without having that turbocharger on it. You have the power you want it when you need it, and picks up pretty well. And the great thing too, if you don't want the inline 4, you can jump up to the V6, which is not an option anymore for the Accord. They've gotten rid of a lot of things on the 10th generation Accord. No more coupe, no more V6. So if you want to have more customization with your car, you really have no choice. You have to go up to the TLX. So the TLX also has 4-wheel steering, which is something that I originally found out was on my 1990 Honda Accord. It wasn't available in North America. It was a European only and Japanese only spec option that you could get. But basically, we just did a turn back there, and the turning radius was insane. It was just really good. You could cut into the corner really well because the rear wheels turn just a little bit in the opposite direction that front wheels are turning. And then if you're on the highway, it'll turn in the same direction just a little bit, just to kind of help with steering. And that's something that, again, we haven't seen on a Honda product in North America for quite some time. The fact that they had it on that older version of the Accord was pretty cool. And I think even the Prelude had that as well. And now we've got that on the TLX here. So it certainly helps with steering. And you might not necessarily notice it when you're going out on a drive, but you will notice it going in parking lots if you have to do tight turns, things like that. Even the turns going around here, they are quite good. And even without sort of winter tires on this, because these are sport tires, they do still grip pretty well on this wet road, even though it's not overly wet. I really do think that the control on this is quite good, considering it's front wheel drive. It's not an all-wheel drive system on this. You have to go up to the next trim in order to get all-wheel drive. Okay, so we're going to go from a dig here. We're in sport mode. There is no necessarily sport option on the transmission, but you have flappy paddle. So we're going to go into 1, and we're going to go. A little bit of tire squeal there. Up to the red line. Engine sounds pretty good for a 4-banger for sure. And just like that, if that cop was in this area, we would be off to prison. That's for sure. So it does have some power. If you are looking for basically the same type of car as the Accord, but you want to have more features, more options, and that speed, I gotta say, without the turbo lag. And you can hear we're in Sport Plus still. It still won't shift up quite away. Ooh, and these bumps are bad, but you can definitely feel it'll pull up. So Sport Plus mode definitely helps if you're interested in using up all of your gas as well, because it's going to use it. You can definitely put the car back into eco mode or normal mode like we have in here, but you do have the options to switch in between, and I think that's good because, again, this is a more of a performance oriented vehicle. It's still not going to be maybe as quick as something like a BMW M3, but you are looking at enough performance for what you really want to get done driving a car like this, and it is quite enjoyable. And again, seat comfort, one of the things that you notice right away when you get into this. Now jumping back into the Accord, things are quite different in terms of everything, really. I mean, this is a new generation for the Accord, whereas the TLX is still on the previous generation's architecture. But there is a lot to like about this if you're not really as into the sport as you might be with the Acura. For example, this is a much smaller engine. It's 1.5 liter engine, and it does have a turbo. And it's interesting, when you put the car in sport mode and have the tachometer on, it'll show you the boost gauge. So for example, we're in sport mode now. I'll do the dig here. Really not a lot off the line, unlike the Acura where it chirped a little bit, those tires. It does still hold the gear though. As you see, we're in flappy paddle mode and we shift it down. Sounds okay. Yeah, it's a small turbocharged engine, and again, off the line, not full throttle, but if you're shifting normally, yeah, it's kind of fun. But we've really honestly been driving this car completely in the eco mode, econ mode as Honda calls it here, because it isn't really a performance car. You really aren't going to be going too fast. The other thing too is it's got a CVT instead of a 8-speed transmission, so even though you do have those paddle shifters up top, they're not really shifting any gears. It's still just kind of doing its little magic there with the CVT. And that's the thing, the Accord is not meant to be a sporty car. I know that they've certainly had sport models before, and the fact that they killed off the coupe is one of the reasons why I think Honda is really changing the image with the Accord and saying, no, this is more of a refined vehicle for people who want the amenities that they're looking for in a more premium oriented vehicle, but you're not really looking for performance and speed, because the fuel economy has been not too bad on this. We've averaged about 8.2 liters per 100, whereas the 2.4 liter inline 4 in the Acura TLX will be a little bit more thirsty than this. But overall, I mean, you get a different set of experiences with this car just because it is less powerful. But that doesn't mean it's bad. I mean, the seats, like I said, aren't as deep as they are on the Acura. They're still very comfortable though, and overall the rides actually are very similar. You really do feel that both cars are built on the same basis there. I find that the suspensions are eating up the road just as much in either car. They have the same kind of feel to them. You know, going around corners is about the same. The Acura does have that four-wheel steering, which certainly helps a little bit here and there, but still I find the turning radius is pretty good in this car. So you're definitely not losing anything by going with the Honda over the more expensive and really less optioned Acura. But again, if you're looking for more than what you can get with this, you know, the best engine you can get with the Honda is their 2-liter turbo. So if you really do want a V6, you really do want all-wheel drive, you really do want other features that you can't get on the Accord, you have no choice. If you want to stick with Honda, then you have to go up to the Acura TLX. There just is no way around it. I'm always an advocate for spending your hard-earned money on the best of something rather than a base model, premium, or luxury car. And unfortunately, that's what this specific Acura TLX is, basically a base model. If you really need a 2018 TLX and you're on an Accord budget, go for the actual base model. You can still use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto rather than the dated navigation system offered in the Tech trim, and you do lose the ELS audio, but you do get into that premium segment if that's important to you. Going for the super handling all-wheel drive Elite A-Spec is going to set you back $51,662.50, and only you can decide if that's what you want to buy. For us, we think that the Accord has a ton going for it with a lot of premium-oriented features like the heads-up display and ventilated seats. The design certainly isn't for everybody, but the same can be said for the Acura as well. Either way you slice it, the Accord and TLX are pretty unique in the marketplace now, with the Acura no longer being the Euro-spec Accord that we all wish we could have. We've always wanted to take a look at what makes the Honda Accord and Acura TLX different, and we're thoroughly glad we had the opportunity to do so here. Acura Trois-Rivières was super accommodating and has a fantastic inventory of new and pre-owned vehicles, and you can check them out online in the link in the description. Thanks for watching this episode of Test Drive Showdown on the 2018 Honda Accord and Acura TLX. Unlike previous showdowns we featured with dealer inventory, we won't be producing a standalone spotlight on the TLX. We've decided in order to fully appreciate a new car's potential, in order for us to review it for Test Drive Spotlight, we need to have the car for more than an hour. We hope to get the TLX from Honda later in 2018 to feature it fully on this show. Let us know what you think of this episode, and which of these cars you choose and why. Sharing this episode on sites like Facebook and Reddit can help us reach new viewers and grow the show quicker. Until next time, take care.